and learn the wrestling side of it.
Wes Barkley, as you can see, already calling for the mic. Didn't get it, but calling for it.
Steve Guy, luckily, was not at the ringside area at the time.
Wes doesn't need a mic to get his point across. Shaw Mason's little brother threatened Wes Barkley in his DMs over the week. Said, my brother is going to stomp you on Saturday.
Hey, Wes pointing him out, questioning them, I think, at ringside. He wants him ejected.
Gone.
He's asking for Shaw Mason's section of fans there to be ejected from the building. I think he's overestimated the influence the Rip City Shooters have here in Absolute Intense Wrestling.
I've definitely seen Barkley Nation members get ejected from the show before.
Listen, that was usually for a little more than being vocal. Let's be honest.
A little bit more.
Now Mason locking up with Wes Barkley. Wes to be backing him down. Shaw attempting. They're just jockeying for position, and there Wes gets him back into the corner.
Wes has the size advantage.
A little bit of a shove there on Shaw. Oh, listen, a guy like Shaw Mason, I guarantee it isn't the first time he's been in competition against someone that may have a size advantage on him. And he is a guy with that wrestling background that knows all about using leverage. He knows all about positioning. It'll be interesting to see how it transitions into the professional wrestling ring. And this is Wes Barkley. Wes Barkley is real quick looking to change this matchup into an area more familiar to him.
I think he's in there with Josh.
He keeps continually telling him. And Tom Dunn is having none of it. Wes Barkley continually attempting to get them ejected. And I gotta wonder if it's just mind games at this point on the part of Wes Barkley.
It's gotta be. You figure Shaw Mason's been waiting all day, his entire life for this moment. And Wes is just prolonging it and keeping it going.
Shaw right there, pulls him in. Fireman's carry directly into the headlock.
Textbook.
And he has got that cinched in. It's another thing about that wrestling background. He has learned all about grip strength, about proper positioning of his hands to make it that much harder to break away from a position. Wes is up, and he's trying to use his size advantage. You notice when he stood up a little bit taller. He forced Mason to hold that headlock, but to hold it higher than it's comfortable for him.
Force him to break the grip up.
Mason underneath.
Look at that.
Rolling through into the cradle by Shaw Mason. And we are seeing him
Shaw Mason
utilize much of his background.
Calls that the mad attack.
And he said he was that close to getting Wes Barkley.
I don't know if he was that close.
He's going for that ankle lock.
Wes must have heard the stories of that one. I've seen people unable to walk out of the training center for that ankle lock put on him.
Barkley out to the floor, and after his mind games early on didn't seem to work, Shaw Mason has found his wheelhouse.
Definitely went to the wrong side if he was looking for some support.
I'll tell you what, Wes Barkley, we talked about it earlier with a couple of other guys. Wes Barkley's still active in the semifinals tonight. Of course, we talked about that semifinal earlier. He's in there with the likes of Dominic Guarini, Ernest the Cat Miller. Is Shaw headed to the floor?
Shaw's coming after him. I think it's what Wes wants him to do, though.
And Dalton Castle to finish my thought earlier, but Shaw, indeed, this is definitely, we talked about he may be comfortable in the ring. The floor is definitely much more of Wes's playground that Shaw Mason may not be familiar with, but Shaw right now getting ahead of steam. Oh, wheelbarrow position. Wes drove him right into that top rope, throat first. And there's the K-Dog.
I think Wes and Derek get to fight their way out of this building tonight.
Barkley stalking down Mason now. Big overhand chop. And Wes Barkley's a guy that really had to earn his spot here in AIW. He started early on, he was put in there again, as we mentioned earlier, as was a standard for years for guys coming out of the school, new competitors in AIW to prove themselves. They frequently found themselves in there with the likes of an Eddie Kingston. And Eddie Kingston was the measuring stick to really earn their spot. Wes found himself within there. He found himself as a manager, as a second to Joshua Bishop for so long, and he just recently has finally gained some respect since winning the Chandler Biggins Memorial Cup last year.
Became a tag team champion along with Josh.
And took Matt Cardona to the limit. Many think probably should have won the Absolute Intense titles that night against Cardona. So Wes Barkley has had to fight to earn respect here in AIW, and I gotta think he takes a matchup like this because he is not okay with someone just walking in, having some accolades from a different athletic background, and he feels potentially taking a spot that he's had to fight to earn.
Yeah. I mean, what would it say for Wes Barkley? Oh, like if he would have lost right there, going into the tournament tonight off a loss.
Shaw Mason with that small package.
Oh, Shaw Mason fans on the other side that we didn't see before.
He didn't get the memo that they were all sitting over on the left side.
He was over in the Austin James dugout.
To his credit, he did buy a front row seat, so I'm thankful. And there's Mason was looking for the sunset flip as Barkley fought it. He went to transition into the ankle lock. Wes gets to the ropes, and Wes just with a body scissors takedown. Almost something you would expect to see out of Shaw.
Nothing pretty about those shots in the face. Wes Barkley probably getting a little fed up here. Every single time he thinks he has the upper hand, Shaw starts to come back at him.
Hold Shaw up. It looks like perhaps looking for a Maserati driver, but Shaw Mason out the back door. Back elbow from Maserati, but a big flying forearm from Mason in response.
See if he can take advantage of this. Tom Dunn, is he at 3, he said? That's a 4 count.
Barkley, the first one moving. It's up to a seated position and to his knees. He gets himself to the ropes, pulls himself up.
I was going to say Shaw not moving. Big kick up.
Nipping up to his feet. Big clothesline out of Shaw Mason and another one. And now belly-to-belly suplex, just throwing Barkley across the ring.
Oh, Mason. Big shoulder in the corner.
Now cinching up. Fisherman suplex and a very high angle bridge, really driving the shoulder down. But somehow Barkley out.
I think you were talking about that grip. Brought his hands together. Maybe he didn't get them together quick enough. Wes was able to get out of there.
And now Shaw Mason slowing down a little bit. We talked about it with Austin James, and I think perhaps less so with Shaw Mason. He's a guy that's competed. He's a guy that's used to being in the spotlight by himself when he competes. But it looks like perhaps he's starting to slow down a little bit. But now he's looking for the podium. But he is caught by Barkley into the Maserati driver. 1, 2, 3. No!
Oh my God! No! Kicked out of the Maserati driver.
Shaw Mason kicking out of the Maserati driver.
Wes Barkley has won countless matches with that Maserati driver.
Now, what does he have in mind? I think setting up for the stroke. No, he sends him in. And Mason caught him with that
ankle lock.
With the wheelbarrow pull through. He's got that ankle lock cinched in, and you notice not only does he have it cinched in, he's pulling back away from the ropes. He is making Wes Barkley add extra just torque onto that ankle if he's going to get to the ropes. And again, pulling Wes Barkley out.
not just turning the ankle, he's also forcing the ankle towards his head.
And Barkley making it. Barkley looks like he's about to tap. I think Barkley's going to tap out. But no. Gets to that bottom rope. I have to wonder if Shaw Mason didn't see him going for the tap and might have lessened his grip a little, might have pulled back expecting that the tap was coming. And I think he stopped pulling against Wes as hard, and Wes was able to use that to extend his way out to that bottom rope.
Shaw dropping the straps.
Line him up, and you see Barkley. Look at that ankle is just turned when Barkley stood up. What does he have in mind? Looking perhaps for a TK. No, the stroke, but he rolled
right
through. He rolled through to get out of the stroke, and in doing so, propelled Wes to the ropes. Wes pulls him out, and there's the stroke. Barkley rolls him over, stacked up on top of him.
The dominant pin.
I said Barkley better worry a little less about